everybody, Shawn Tubbs here. Thanks for tuning in. This is the Pettyjohn Electronics Chime MKII. Now this is an enhanced version of the original Pettyjohn chime pedal. I have to admit, being such a fan of the chime pedal, when I first demoed the original Pettyjohn chime, it's one of the few pedals that went straight from my desk onto my pedal board, and it never left my pedal board. I use it as an always-on pedal. I'll use it as a boost pedal. I use it as an overdrive pedal. It's just really remarkably versatile, and it feels and sounds great. So I must admit, when I heard there was going to be a Mark II, I had some trepidations because I just felt like, what is there to fix? What is there to change? And the good news is everything that I love and anybody that owns a chime pedal loves about it is still there. Nothing's gone away. Stefan has just added enhancements based on guitar player input and dealer input. And what's great is he listens and takes it all in and then makes the changes and makes the enhancements, but without degrading what was originally magical in that pedal. So what's happened with this pedal? Well, in the clipping stage alone, you used to be able to choose between different clipping stages via a three-way switch. In this case, he's taken those clipping stages and he's put them in parallel. So now you can actually sweep via a mini potentiometer between germanium or lead clipping or anywhere in between, and it really sounds great and just makes it that much more versatile. And then he's also changed how the high pass frequency works. Instead of, once again, just having a toggle switch with set values, now you can sweep from 30 all the way to 700, so anywhere in between. It just makes it that much more versatile when you're dialing in sounds. The top controls are virtually the same. I've explained the mini potentiometers on top. Your tilt control, just beautifully tuned as you roll it to the left. There's more low end, less top end. As you roll it to the right, the lows start rolling off and the really sweet top end and mid highs start coming in. Really great control. Now the level control has been changed, and for the better. It's an active level control, so now as you turn it up and down, there's zero tone loss, so that's a really nice new feature. The drive control is the same. That's giving you your saturation, and then of course the boost control is also the same. It's adding more grit and presence as you turn it up. The foot switch has also been changed. It's now a silent switch. There's no pop, there's no click, it's a soft switch. Go to the site to check out how he built that. I don't know, and even if he told me, I wouldn't understand that. Me no build these things, me just play them. But it's a soft switch, there's no pop, it works great, I really dig it. Now there are some internal switches too. So what you can do on the inside of the pedal, coming back around to the clipping, is the pedal's going to show up stock in what's called the clipping mode. So there's a switch towards the top of the pedal that's going to be in the up position. When it's in that position, the pedal's in clipping, and it's going to allow you to sweep between germanium and lead, which is really, really cool. But what's awesome is you can now bypass the clipping completely and just use the pedal as a preamp. And we'll get into that in the demo, but that's a really cool feature. You just bump that switch to the middle. And then if you bump the switch down and you just really prefer to only have lead clipping and you know you're not going to use the germanium, you can basically hardwire it to lead, which I really did because I tend to prefer lead clipping, so I thought that was a great idea. Now on the power supply side of this thing, because this is all studio grade componentry, these pedals do like to see more voltage. They're going to operate better. Normally you'd either have to hit it with 18 volts or you could hit it with a 9 volts and it would double to 18. And then if you wanted to get 36 volts out of it, you could plug an 18 volt power supply into it, and that's okay, but not everybody honestly has an 18 volt power supply. So what Stefan did is he redesigned the power rails. So now you have a true 36 volts from a 9 volt adapter, and that's so amazing. But what he's also done is if you still want a more kind of vintage voltage and sound out of the pedal, you can still bump it back down to the I believe 28 volts, or maybe it's 30 volts. Anyways, you can bump it down to the lower setting and get more of a vintage feel. I would say, man, leave it in the 36 volt setting because it's just got so much more headroom. It's just so broadband that way. But if you do want it to feel maybe a little more compressed, a little more vintage, you have the option to throw it over to the lower voltage setting and get that type of sound and feel out of it. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this Pettyjohn Chime Mark II. Shawn, what amp are you using? Shawn happened to ask Shawn because Shawn is off his meds and talking to himself. I'm using my Red Plate Blues Machine amp. I've got it dialed as basically a Fender Deluxe type vibe, and I'm using my usual Sir Classic S single hum guitar. Here is just the guitar and the amp. I'm going to keep it dialed really unadorned, and we're going to make this pedal do all the work. It just creates this big, open, ampy, slightly overdriven thing that just sounds so good. So the way I've got it dialed right now is for kind of a mild breakup. We're leaning towards the LED side, which is my kind of preferred clipping, but we'll get into the germanium as well. You can see I've got the boost and drive set up at almost noon. What I'm going to do is kind of show you how I use these together. So if I were to just shut the boost off, it definitely cleans up. As I start bringing that up, I'll bring it back to noon. It adds gain, but it also is just more punchy. I guess would be the best way to describe that. Because sometimes I don't necessarily want more gain, I just want more of that amp-like punch. Now if I were to go the other way and turn up the drive, it's a little bit smoother. There's a little bit less punch there. I always just try and find combinations between the two that work for whatever it is I'm doing. If I'm doing more back humbucker kind of stuff, I might be more apt to just use the drive and keep it a little smoother. It just depends on what you want. This pedal is so dialable just in these two controls. I mean, I can even roll the boost into that setting. Let's see what happens if I turn it all the way up. We're going to get a lot more level, so I'll turn the level control down. And with it set just like that, what would happen if I roll it over to the germanium side? We're getting a little bit less level there, but we're going to get more gain. I'll go ahead and turn the level up to compensate. And we're getting a little less low end, so I'll roll the high pass over. So this is classified as a low gain overdrive pedal, but you can hear that there's quite a bit of gain on tap, just once again, depending on how you dial it. Now, we were on the LED side. Let me get everything kind of back to where it was. Now these two circuits, these clipping circuits, are in parallel. So with it rolled all the way to the right, as we have it now, we're just hearing the lead clipping. If we roll it all the way to the left, we're only going to hear the germanium. A little more vintagey, completely different clipping than the LED. It's more compressed, maybe a little less open. And then here's the two basically in parallel. I've got this at noon now. So now you've kind of got the best of both worlds going on. I like to have it just a little bit more towards the lead side, but I do like hearing a little bit of the germanium in that top end. So that's just a great, really great sounding circuit. Now let me just sweep this high pass filter really quick. I love the fact that you can really, really tailor the low end of things now, especially when I'm in a neck position tone. If I had this all the way over, that might be a little too boomy. So I can start rolling that back. Like right there is pretty sweet. If I was using more humbucker, I might want to roll it the other way to get some more low end. It just depends on what I'm doing, but that is so dialable, especially in a session, and really getting it to match amps and guitars. It's just such a valuable setting. And then you combine that with the tilt control, and you're just really off to the races with getting whatever tones you want to get. So with the tilt control, I'll just roll it all the way to the left. Actually, that's interesting. What would happen if I... That sounds really cool. It's almost like a tone bender. Anyways, I digress. The tilt control all the way to the left. That's pretty dark. We can start getting more top end out of it. We'll keep rolling to the right. It's just so musical because it's just moving everything at once, but so musically. And we can keep rolling it over. Turn it all the way up. Say you love where that ended up, but maybe it's a little too much low end. You can start rolling it off. The high pass filter. So the sky is really the limit with how this pedal dials. I mean, you've heard me get all kinds of tones. The active level control now is ideal because it doesn't degrade your tone at all as you turn it down. It's virtually linear, which is awesome. So what I'm going to do now is, you guys have been hearing it in the clipping setting. So the clipping is on. What I'm going to do is go ahead and open up the box. I'm going to shut the clipping off and just use it more as a preamp style box, which is how I'd be a little bit more apt to use it. And yeah, I'll let you guys hear it that way. And yeah, just give me a second and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've gone in and I've turned off the clipping via the internal switch inside the box, because I want you guys to hear this just briefly as more of a preamp style box, something you would use to either boost or enhance your sound. So once again, here's just the guitar and the amp. And that actually sounds really sweet, but check it out. For me, when I'm on a session and I just feel like, oh man, I just need that little something, there's just something missing, this box has just been a lifesaver. But you can hear how sweet that is. And then we can tweak away. You know, maybe I want a little bit more low end. Maybe I want a little more top end. Now, as you start cranking this thing, you know, it'll still overdrive. I mean, you can overdrive this as a preamp internally. So now we're hitting the amp a little harder, but it sounds so good. Sounds so sweet. I mean, I'm hitting it harder than I normally would. You know, we can do a little bit less breakup. So that sounds killer, and it also does not argue with stomp boxes. So if I turn on, say, my Majestic Overdrive, it still sounds great. Here's off. So even if you wanted to use this as, say, a boost box to try and just get more gain out of whatever's coming after it, it would work killer for that. But that being said, I think it's just an amazing always-on pedal, and you can certainly use it that way. And also in circumstances where you don't know what your backline is going to be, you're going to end up with a really tired old Vox, or a Fender that's been through the ringer, maybe a reissue, deluxe, whatever it ends up being. And you can just fix so many issues with just this one pedal. That is the Pettyjohn Chime Mark II. If you've got any questions, by all means, go to the website and ask away, because there's a lot going on in this pedal. Stefan is one of the best builders out there. He's a really sweet dude. He knows what he's talking about, and he puts a lot of love into these pedals. I so appreciate you guys tuning in, and please subscribe if you like what you're seeing. And yeah, we'll see you next time.